Today's date is January 20th, 2012. The name of the person being interviewed is Robert Knudstrup. My name is Linda Hummel from Eastern Michigan University. And the place the interview is taking place is Manistee, Michigan. So I am happy to be here today with you. So I'm looking forward to hearing stories from you. And I guess where I'd like to begin is, where were you born?
Where was I born?
Uh-huh.
Manistee, Michigan.
Oh, so you've lived here all your life?
Right.
Wow. Did you live in the city, in the country?
Oh, in the city.
Did you really? Oh, cool. So you're an urban guy, huh? You're a
Right.
city guy. Okay. So what year did you go into the service, and were you drafted, or did you enlist?
Well, I went in and drafted
Oh, were you drafted?
1943.
Okay. And had you finished high school at that time?
Pardon?
Had you finished your
Oh, yes.
Okay, yeah. So were you able to pick the branch of service that you went in? Were you able to choose that branch?
No.
No? So
No.
what branch did you go in?
Right.
Okay. Were you in the Army, Air Force?
Air Army.
Army, okay. So do you recall that the days that the first week or two when you went in, what that process was? What do you recall about that?
Well, I was first drafted in March of 43.
Uh-huh.
But I did not pass the physical.
Oh.
So it was a 4F.
Oh.
And so they told me to go home and catch me later.
Really?
And in June or July, they called me in, and decided that they had a whole list of jobs for 4F.
Oh.
And so I fit the category. So I was then inducted in July of 43, and served with an Army unit called the Michigan, or the Military Police Escort Guardian.
Oh.
And that was pertaining to would be jobs or things that could be done without a lot of war, fighting of any thing. So it worked out for my best effort to get in.
Great. So did you have to go through boot camp training?
Pardon?
Did you have to go through boot camp training?
Oh, yes.
Did you?
Yeah.
Where did that happen?
Down in Fort Custer, Michigan.
Oh, really? Is that Detroit?
Battle Creek.
Battle Creek. Okay. So do you remember any of your instructors?
One, yes, Lieutenant Miles, a federal judge.
Really?
Later,
Okay.
yeah, he became a federal judge.
Do you remember
And he
him?
made a good impression on me.
Very good.
Yeah.
Was it a fond impression? Were you fond of him? Did you like him?
Well, I mean, I respected and he treated me like anybody else.
Oh, okay. Okay. But after all these years, you remembered him anyway, didn't you?
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. So, were you able to get through the boot camp okay? I mean, I know it's got to be really tough.
What boot camp then we got assigned to a regular unit,
Okay.
and there was a military police escort guard. And would ship to Camp Hood, Texas,
Okay.
North Camp.
Uh-huh.
And we were there and just taking Germans on the work detail and also guarding the prison that was set up. But those on good behavior got a chance to work out, like in the bakery, laundry, the water pool, the washing cars,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
a lot of construction, and a wood lot where wood was prepared for stoves,
Mhm.
furnace.
Mm-hmm. Now, this was in World War II, obviously.
Pardon?
This was World War II time.
World War II, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, did you spend any time overseas at all?
Yes.
Mhm.
I went to from Camp Hood in April. We went to Camp White in Medford, Oregon.
Okay.
We were there for 2 months, and the hurry-up order evidently came down the line that they put us on a train, and we ended up in New Jersey, and at a 3-day training session to get re-equipped and so forth, and shipped overseas.
So you were actually on a ship to go overseas then?
Right.
What do you remember about that?
Well, was we didn't know what we were up to, you know, actually.
Yeah.
But I do remember when my buddies were out there looking to see if we could see the coast of Ireland.
Oh.
And but there was a bird that went over and splattered in good. And he says, 5,000 guys, you had to pick on me. It just stuck
So-
in my mind.
So there were
And
five.
so we were in, we went, landed and went to Manchester, watched at a camp there for about 3 days. Then went to Liverpool, and they loaded up about 800 German prisoners. And so we got on that ship too to guard them while they're, and took them to Boston.
Oh.
So we were in Boston for 5 days and get some new equipment to get, and went back over to England and was there for about a week, about a week, and they loaded up on the Empress of Australia,
Oh.
and joined a convoy heading back to the States. And just before we got to Virginia, the mine, and they got caught in a class 4 hurricane.
Oh.
And that ship did everything, but the water we had, they had water coming in all over.
Oh my goodness.
They had the Germans down below, kept them down below. And I wasn't called on guard duty, so I was in my bunk, laying, so I could hang on to the sides, hang on, because it just, that ship, I don't know how, an 800-footer, wasn't little, it was a big one.
Uh-huh.
And that train, they lost all of their bridge work, as far as the float for the rafts, they were gone in the morning. The lifeboats were all gone, been broken off, and they didn't know where they were at because of there was radio restriction at that time, so they couldn't radio for help. I guess they could have if the ship was actually going down. But then about 8 o'clock, it's cloudy and so forth, but a blimp showed up and they flashed a couple of signals, and the ship made a right turn, and at 4 o'clock we could see Statue of Liberty.
Oh,
So
well, I bet that was.
that was,
What did that feel like when you saw that?
well, that felt pretty good.
You were happy to see that lady. So, what other kinds of things? How long were you in the service? How long were you in the service? How many years?
Oh, I got out in March of 46.
Oh, okay.
I
So,
think it was 2 years and 10 months or something like that.
how many trips did you make over back and
Then
forth?
we went back over to England, and we weren't needed for that job anymore right then. And then the president had died, and so they shipped us up to Belgium for about 6 weeks. Then we got shipped down to Versailles, and we're at Versailles for almost a year, or for a month. Then we loaded on, I can't think of the number, but one of the newer passenger ship that they built for troop movements. And went on across through the Panama Canal, ended up in the Philippines.
Oh my goodness.
And from there, we were there about a month after they signed the treaty, and then they shipped us up to Japan. So I was stationed in Japan until almost the end of February.
What do you remember about?
46.
What do you remember about that? About being in Japan?
It was the first night we were there. We had 3 officers, a captain and 2 lieutenants. They wanted to tour Tokyo, so we procured a Jeep. And so I took them on a drive through Japan, and it was unbelievable what we saw. I mean, there was absolutely no housing. Maybe there was a couple of places where a couple of brick buildings, small, were there yet. Everything else was burned out.
Really?
And just showed with these fire bombs that the Americans had dropped on them.
Sure.
And we were lucky, and we got stationed in Yokohama, just outside of you. And we had a large building that could accommodate it. A big kitchen, dining hall, and rooms that were off of a long lineup of hallways, and rooms off of that for 140 men.
Wow. So I've obviously never been to Okinawa. What was the weather like there?
landed there, I got a couple of stripes with the corporal,
Ah.
and so I was in charge of the motor pool.
Uh-huh. Were you able to travel around the island a little bit?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they had the 3 officers, and each of them got a turn of taking a week's vacation in Mount Fuji.
Ah.
So, being the head of the motor pool, I took those assignments.
Smart man. Yeah.
Right.
Great. So that sounds like that was kind of a very fond memory of your time there. Was that, I mean, of all of your active services, what do you remember most of all the time what stands out in your mind? It sounds like there were times when you were in some pretty special places, and probably sometimes when you were in some places that were not very, very good. Well, I just wondered if there were some that stood out in your mind. So.
Well, I think our stay for 2 months in Oregon
Uh-huh.
was really nice. The people in that town, their churches ran a deal where the army guy could to go and get a supper
Mm-hmm.
for 25 cents,
Oh my goodness.
and they provide pool tables and ping pong entertainment type of thing, and dancing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I really remember.
I would think
Camp
so.
White.
Camp White. Okay, in Oregon. Where in Oregon was that?
This is in Medford,
Medford, Oregon.
southern part.
Okay.
So it was in I figured it must be about the right section of Oregon that you didn't get any of the major storms off of the ocean as some of the locations.
So were you near the ocean?
Pardon?
Were you near the ocean then?
No, Medford was over the inland
Okay.
from the first mountain. Mountain, right?
Oh,
Right.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you stay in touch with your family back home when you were that far away? Were you able to do that? Stay in touch with?
They had passed out three 6 day passes,
Oh, okay.
and some of the guys got to go home
Uh-huh.
for a couple of days,
Sure.
and I had missed out on all of those, and we so we're down in Versailles. Me and another guy went over to Nice
Uh-huh.
and had a week's vacation at Nice because we had not had a vacation during the whole time
Wow.
we had been in, and we were entitled to it. So they shipped 2 of us over there, and next week a couple more got a chance to spend some time over there in the hotel, and you had to pay for your own meals and stuff. But I think we were allowed a certain amount.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, looks to me like I see a lot of medals over there. Can you tell me a little bit about some of them?
Oh boy.
Do you want me to bring that to you? I'd be happy to. Is it? don't know a whole lot about some of those citations things.
No, I really don't remember these, 'cause I don't remember getting them. I mean,
Uh-huh.
I guess I was, a niece of mine checked back with the government for records, and this is what
Oh.
she found. So I was not really familiar with it.
So you weren't necessarily personally given? Is that, I think that maybe they came in the mail.
No, I don't recall any of those where you were officially drawn out of the unit when they're together as a unit.
Sure.
And,
Well, they look pretty impressive to me,
well,
and I'm sure they were well deserved. So, I had asked you sort of some things like, tell me what the food was like. Did they feed you well? Was it good?
really, I got no complaints.
Very good.
No, I did my job to my best
Yeah?
ability,
Mm-hmm.
and did not get into any real serious problems.
Uh-huh.
And the unit I was with was a real good bunch of men, all in my age group. Some were married, had kids, and everybody pretty well treated there was.
So
I
did,
think of what do you use there? Sometimes there's things happen. When we first landed in England, that was the invasion happened just a week before.
oh,
So they were looking for blood, and everything. So we were called out, lined up, and the captain wanted to know if there was anybody who felt that he couldn't give blood. Well, this one man raised his hand. The captain says, well, he says, Private, he says, why can't you furnish blood? Feels if you can. Well, you see, my wife is giving birth back in the States, and I figured I should save my strength. And of course, that just what roaring laughter. And that was, I really felt sorry for him, because he took a lot of ribbing
I would think so.
about that.
Yes, indeed.
And he, we were there long enough for him to do the purchasing of some teacups and stuff of that sort. And a buddy of mine had to carry his own duffel bag, and this private's duffel bag too, on board ship. And you get enough weight to want to by having one, having two to carry. He got it up to the upper deck, the top deck of so we had to go down to from A down to D. And sailor told him, listen, why don't you just give it a push? And so he did. And went on down. Well, that night, when he got on board, after they'd gone to get prisoners for the trip, and he had a whole bunch of smashed up teacups and stuff. He was really mad. he never did find out. But I felt sorry for the guy.
Yeah.
You know.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you remember about the prisoners? What were they like?
Christmas.
The prisoners that you were transporting? I mean, were they?
Well,
I mean, I guess I can't quite picture what that kind of interaction would be between Americans and Germans. I mean, how did everybody handle that? Were they were prisoners of war, correct?
Well, they got an extra dinner, or special dinner,
Really?
and that's just some of the guys got presents from home
Okay.
when we were still in the States.
Uh-huh.
But after we left the States, about the only way they'd celebrate it was to get a special meal.
Mm-hmm.
And
Did you ever get to know any of the prisoners at all? I mean, were you able to have
Well,
conversations with them? And I don't mean necessarily become friends, but did you have interaction with them at all?
no, that's something I missed on, I think.
Okay.
I didn't get, I wasn't that much of an outgoing person, I guess
Okay.
you might say that.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't communicate with the residents
Mm-hmm.
of the areas where
Mm-hmm.
just went about the daily job.
Sure.
And
Probably some language barriers too. Probably you didn't speak German, they didn't speak English, so I can imagine maybe that was a part of it.
with the German, yeah, there were a little bit. You'd get to know a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the work detail, as long as you treated them fair, and you learned one thing, if you had a corporal or a sergeant in a detail, you communicated with him. You didn't give a private the work and a private go back. They didn't like it. So you communicated with the sergeant or the one that was
Mm-hmm.
in charge of the.
Mm-hmm. And what was your rank when you left the service?
When I left for home,
Mm-hmm.
T5 technician,
Okay.
5th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so if I ask you to share with me some of the things that you remember the most of that couple of years that you were in the service, what would come to mind?
I think we got to the Philippines and so forth. We were a little more. Our unit was on its own, and I was in charge of the motor pool. I had to see that the truck was ready to go anytime.
Mm-hmm.
And,
So you enjoyed that kind of work?
I enjoyed it. I mean, as long as everybody out did their work,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have any problem.
Well, obviously you felt that you were doing something and keep, that sounds like a very particularly important job too, to keep all of those guys busy and getting the job done properly. That's quite a big job. How many vehicles do you think you had that were, and men that were working under you? No, just a guess. I don't want to.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Maybe repeat that question.
So how many vehicles were you in charge of?
Oh, we had about 10 trucks,
Uh-huh.
3 Jeeps, and about 3. We call them 3/4 ton.
Mm-hmm.
They had a short box in the back, that kind of thing. And then there was a 2.5 ton truck. We had one with a cab over engine, and we had to get that one through the gate while we're in Japan. We had to lower the windshield, or the windshield, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And to get it in, because there was a little house on either side of this gate that had a building across the that had limited the size of vehicle you could. But all the crew, they liked the cab over engine. It was the fastest.
Oh, yes. So which was your favorite?
Yeah, I like that.
Did you?
Yeah.
So I heard from some of your family members that you used to be the driver for some of the officers.
Yeah.
Have any
Japan, well, and France too, they couldn't drive themselves.
Oh, okay.
So he had to furnish a driver. And, well, I worked for detached services that worked for the headquarters company there in France, Cherbourg. And there was, I had to make a trip down to our camp down into Cherbourg, and I had another camp and pick up all our paperwork every 2 hours.
Oh, okay.
And so then, once a month, about 60 miles up the road is where the officers catch of all the liquor. So I had to take somebody up, some lieutenant up there once a month to get the officers' supply. And then there was other extra trips, some trips into, I think we had 3 or 4 trips into Paris. And we had a displaced person camp too, along with a German
Okay.
camp, German prisoner.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those had to be transported from one camp to another. And I generally got that assignment.
Well, you definitely were able to travel all over Europe, weren't you?
Yes.
What was your favorite place of all in Europe?
Well, I think we were up in Belgium, in Namur, Belgium. We didn't do anything for almost 2 months.
Oh.
Just sat and had the recorded and it was put in tents. And but you didn't do anything all day, but you had to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But after 5 o'clock, I mean, you could go to town or movie or and the mirror is located on the river. And the weather was still kind of cool, so we didn't. The locals were getting into a little bathing, but otherwise we hadn't got around to doing that yet.
Yeah. So, where was the last place you were stationed before you came home? Where was the last place you were stationed before you were discharged?
Yokohama,
Yokohama.
just outside now. I don't know what could affect it, but we were on a ridge, and there was another 8 or 10 housing units down this ridge, but everything below that, and that was all burned out. But none of this stuff up on the ridge was damaged. Made nice, beautiful homes and stuff. So we kind of figured that out. Going to oil people there.
Yeah.
And of course the Red Cross had one. Salvation Army had one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And then the General Eichelberger, we had to have a guard on his office, and three guards at night.
So when, during your years of service, did you have a couple of real close buddies?
Yeah, I had some good friends.
Yeah. Did you stay in touch with them after?
We did, yeah.
Huh?
We had 5 or 6 anyway of reunions.
Oh, very good.
A couple of them in Pittsburgh, one in Grand Rapids,
Uh-huh.
one down in West Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
and there were 2 more, and I'm trying to think where they were at.
Uh-huh.
But
So did you ever belong to any of the, the American Legions or the American Legion or anything like that?
no, I did. I don't know why I didn't, but I guess I was just busy.
Mm-hmm.
After I got back,
Mm-hmm.
I got married shortly after.
Mm-hmm. Was she your high school sweetheart?
Yeah.
Was she?
Well, not really. She was older than me,
Okay.
but we'd gone together for about a year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd been split up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, through religion
Okay.
purchases.
Sure.
Again. But then I got a Dear John letter, and so I guess that's the last to see of her, So at home, my dad ran a store downtown, and
Uh-huh.
we're locking up the store, and she came along with her folk, walking by right 9 o'clock. So I got a chance to talk to her, and she didn't mention anything about the marriage deal. And so I asked her if I figured she must be free for the taking, And I said, want to know where she's going to be the next day. She said, well, she was taking a couple of her brother and the sister to bowling, and found out where they were going to do that. I went and talked to her there. Got myself a date for the next weekend. And so things really carried on after that.
How long was it before you were married?
And married, within a year.
Yeah.
And
So when you came back to the States and you came back to home, obviously you then went to work, found a job. And where was that at? And what
well,
were
my
you doing?
dad ran a business, an electrical business,
Okay.
at a store, and he ran that. So I was working for him.
Okay.
And then because of business conditions, we had to close it up, and I would start working out as an electrician.
Okay. And is that what you did for most of your life?
Yeah, we pretty went. Well, I'm not working for the union, but I mean, they're still carry me
Oh, okay.
a pension,
Very good.
and some health insurance.
Very good.
And I feel quite endowed to them for keeping me on the book and playing. Because so I retired when I retired in 79.
Well, you've enjoyed a very long, wonderful retirement then.
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. Do you mind if I ask how old you are?
Pardon?
Do you mind if I ask how old you are? I hear you.
Oh, 79.
I hear you have a birthday
Well,
coming soon.
30. I think somewhere around 30 years old I retired.
Oh, okay.
Not retired. Well,
So you've been retired for about 30
Yeah.
years. Yeah. And how old are you now, if you don't mind?
I will be 91
Very
next week.
good. Congratulations. So, how many children did you have? How many children?
At 8.
8 children.
Yeah,
What a great family. Are they all sort of in the area now?
All but one, the retarded boy,
Okay.
and he died in the institution.
Okay.
The girl next to the youngest,
Uh-huh.
and the boy younger than her.
Okay.
And 5 before that were all boys.
Wow. You almost had your own little league team, didn't you?
Yeah.
So have you lived in Manistee then ever since, all your life? Since you were born here then, basically?
I was born here.
Yeah?
Yeah. And looking back at things, I think I was born in a good time of times.
Mm-hmm.
There was ups and downs,
Sure.
but it was basically a little slow down, and then the people got back to work again.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you would want to share with people who might be reading or looking at this video, your family, I mean, are there special moments? I can only imagine what it must have been like to come home after being gone for 2 years, seeing that you hadn't had any furloughs.
Well, there was a change, I mean, and from when I went in to when I got out.
What was the most significant change, something that really just struck you when you came home? Can you think of anything?
Trying to think of
Automobiles?
any. I don't know. I feel as if sometimes during the period in the service that I had somebody looking over me,
Okay.
and especially in parts of Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And that boat ride. There have been other instances. I thought there was somebody
Mm-hmm.
looking over.
Mm-hmm.
They were probably small incidents, but I left an impression.
Mm-hmm. But it sounds like you were happy to be home and to begin your life with your wife and begin a family, and that you've had a
Yeah.
wonderful life since
Yeah.
that time.
And I'm thankful that she didn't get married to somebody else first.
I
She was
think
a
it's true.
Wonderful, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, raised 8 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you very much for sharing this information with us and your stories. And anything else you would like to share with us? You think I picked your brain pretty good?
Pardon?
You think I got some information that you wanted to share? It sounds like it. It was a fascinating
Well,
story.
yes. You know, a little incident, making a trip from Oregon to New Jersey, going through Pocatello, Idaho. They were out there to pass out sandwiches to all of us. Well, then they found out one of the kitchen car had some problems with bearings, and we'd be stuck in Pocatello for 2 hours, and or shortly after that. Anyway, the people got regular dinners, brought them over, supplied everybody with hot food, and I really a lot of times think of Pocatello in that way, and how when you get under certain you get all that like to get give the people an opportunity. They will come forward and want to do to help such a situation, and I think that's a part of America is that to help one another.
Well, thank you so much for spending time, and I enjoyed hearing your stories very much, and I know your family will enjoy hearing them too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.